Oh, hello. Okay. We are about to start, and I hope that everyone can see me. And that's the most important thing, that everybody can see what I am doing. So let's see. Um, Let me open my um, the last folder. Okay, I think this is the folder. Let me open it up on Visual Studio Code. Okay, and let's be sure that this is actually what we are getting. Okay, this is what we are getting. Let's also see the rest stream and see if it is actually streaming. I don't know, but I hope it is actually streaming. But let me confirm first that I am streaming live on the places where I want to stream. No, sorry. My name is Stabike. I give you 100,000. No, I'm a content creator. That's the camera. That's the camera. So I give you 100,000. I'm a content creator. My name is Stabike. Yes. Okay, I am live here. Let's see. Okay, 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 okay. So, I am going to share this. Copy the link to my WhatsApp. If you are ready with us, just stay by. Let us invite other people that are waiting, that have been waiting for us online. So let's verify whether the YouTube is also streaming. I can see that the YouTube is also streaming. JavaScript for beginners. But I want to see it in action. Okay, and share it. I hope to ring everybody so that they can start joining. So I am ringing everybody to alert them so that they can start joining us immediately. Okay. All right, I'll begin. So, in today's class, we are going to be looking at introduction to JavaScript. We're going to be looking at our introduction to JavaScript. And we are going to be doing a lot of things today. So the first thing I will need to do is to, let me undo what I just did. So the first thing I will need to do, okay, is to start with my HTML. And I usually like making use of my HTML to display whatever I am doing on JavaScript. But if you prefer making use of the console, you can still make use of the console. Okay, it doesn't matter whichever one that you prefer. So I will try my best to make sure that. Okay, let's start. So first of all, let us have our default HTML. And I am going to change the title to JavaScript tutorial. So the title is JavaScript tutorial. While the we will have H1 for the topic, so we can say JavaScript training for the beginners. All right, and we save it and we go live so that it will display on our browser. And then we go ahead to minimize this. Okay, so this is what we have. So we have this. Now I will go ahead to let you know that there are so many ways you can bring in your JavaScript. So your JavaScript can be written anywhere. You can write JavaScript anywhere within the head. You can write it within the body, below the body, and outside the file. So let us start with writing our JavaScript within the head. So to write JavaScript within the head, just like we did on the script. So what you do is you use a tag that is called script. And under the script, here all your JavaScript will live. So let's start with alert. I usually like starting with alert. So I can say JavaScript tutorial for beginners. And if I refresh my browser, you will see it says JavaScript tutorial for the beginner. And if you click OK, you will see the page. Now this is JavaScript. We can still run this code anywhere. We can bring it to the body and it will still run. You can see that it ran successfully. We can also uh, bring it just below the body and it will still run perfectly. If you save it, you can see it here. So this is to tell you that JavaScript can run anywhere within your browser. It can run virtually everywhere. Okay, let me show you that JavaScript can still run outside. So we can come here and create a file and call it anything, or let's call it app.js. So JavaScript files ends with .js, just like HTML files ending with .html. So we can paste our code here and we remove this one and remove this one. And then this is the code that we have. We also need to remove the indentation. Okay, so this is what we have now. So we need to link this JavaScript into our HTML to be able to run it. So we need to link it. So we can link it here with script source, and then the source, src, meaning source. Where will I get the JavaScript from? And then you will now tell it that you are going to get the JavaScript from app.js. So here we are going to tell it that where it is going to get it is from app.js. And if you save it, you can see the JavaScript is perfectly running here. Okay. Now you can place this JavaScript anywhere and it will still work. Let us see it. If I copy this script tag here and remove it and place it here, you will see that if I save it, I still have the hello, the alert playing. I can still put it under and it will still work if I save it. Now, but the best method, there is what we call the best method or the international best practices. The best practices is to have your JavaScript below your HTML closing, body closing. So you can see the body closing tag here. It is always good to have your JavaScript below. And this is to help to load your page, because there are some places where you will have a lot of JavaScript, and due to the fact that the browser runs from top to down, the browser tends to run the JavaScript first, and sometimes it affects the user's experience of that application. So you make sure that you have your JavaScript just below the body ended tag, and that is the best practice. All right. All right. Now, let us now focus on our JavaScript. Now, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a programming language which we use to add interactivity or interactions to a web page. So JavaScript was initially created so that we will have dynamic websites or interactive website, not actually dynamic website, but interactive website. Because during the era when XHTML was introduced, that is one of the most recent, one of the earliest versions of HTML. Those days, um, there was no way you could add interactions into a web page. So the best way to do that, most of the time, when you want to control those things, you do it manually. So JavaScript was created so that they will add interactions to web pages. Although in today's world, we have JavaScript doing virtually anything. You can now use JavaScript for backend. You can now use JavaScript for mobile softwares. You can use it for desktop softwares. You can use it for anything today because of the fact that JavaScript has been improved over the recent years. Okay, so but we are only going to be concentrating on the basics of the JavaScript. So the first thing we are going to be looking at is the JavaScript syntax for output. So we are going to be looking at output for JavaScript. Now, to make a comment on JavaScript, just use /, to make a single line comment on JavaScript. Now, we need to start with the output, JavaScript output syntax. Now, what is an output? So when you put in some data into the computer and tell it what to do, you actually are requesting, or you need to receive some set of output from the computer. So those output is what we are actually going to be looking at. So the first one is the one that we have done now, which is window.alert. Window.alert method. So window.alert puts up an alert or a prompt on the page just to alert the user of some certain tasks that they need to perform before proceeding with the page. So that is what we use the window.alert to do. Okay, so for that, so let's ask them a question. So we can use a string and say, are you up to 20 years 20 years old? And if we go ahead to refresh this, you will see it says, are you up to 20 years old? Now this is what window.alert can do. So this is what window.alert can do. Okay, and it is one of the JavaScript outputs. So let's comment it out. The next one is going to be the document.write method. Document.write method. So this one is going to overwrite whatever you have on the page, or it's going to write directly on the HTML page. Sorry, it's going to write directly on the HTML page. That is what document.write method does. So let's say hello world. And if we save it, you will see hello world here, and you can see that it is very tiny. I can zoom this a little bit so you can see it properly. So this is coming from our JavaScript document.write. So document.write write directly on the HTML page. So that is what we can use document.write to do. Okay, and the next method that we'll be looking at is the console.log. Now, even though console.log does not print on the page directly, but it prints on the console. Most of you may not know that there is something called console on the browser. So the console comes with the JavaScript, because whichever JavaScript that you are using must come with whichever browser that you are using must come with a JavaScript engine within it. I think every browser has it. So since they have it, they also have the console for debugging. So this helps to find out the errors on the code that you have written on JavaScript. So let's do that. So we can just right click on any place on your website, and you scroll down, you will see inspect element, or you are going to see inspect, depending on the browser or the version of the browser that you may be using. So you can click inspect. Now if you click on inspect, you will see at the top here, you will see a place that they wrote console. Click on console, you are going to see the code that you just wrote, and you can see it says hello world. And if I come to this thing and say welcome and save it, it's going to add hello world welcome, and it's going to tell you where it is coming from. So you can see it is coming from app.js, and it is coming from line 4. If you look at this place, you will see that this is line 4, and this is what console.log can do. And console.log helps developers a lot to find out where problems are coming from a website without displaying it directly on the front end of the website where the user will see it. So that is what it does. Okay, so we can click on this X to close it up and continue from where we stopped. So let's also comment it. And another one, there are so many of them which I may not be able to exhaust, but I am going to talk about the most important ones. So the last one that I will be talking about is the one we use all the time, which is we use it for DOM manipulation, which is the document.getElement by ID. So I am going to do some certain things here, some coding here. Don't bother yourself about that. When it is time, you will begin to understand the DOM. So, but for now, let us just talk about document.getElement by ID or by class name or document.querySelector and so on. But I am going to be talking about document.getElement by ID. So I am going to, first of all, come to my HTML and have an event. I am going to have some certain things here. So let's have a class or maybe an ID here. And I am going to say that this ID is screen. Okay. And it is going to have some paragraph. And the paragraph is going to be 0.00. So let's take it that this is just the screen of a calculator. And then, of course, you know, a calculator should have a button, right? It should have a button. So let's have this, and let's say that this is a button. I don't need an ID for this button. Okay, I don't need an ID for the button, and I can say that this is start. Or okay, so let's have this as this. We have this, and we can say start. When the person clicks on the start button, it starts to add 1, 2, 3 and so on. So let's just do a simple something here, and we need to have this button. And if you click on this button, you can see nothing happens because there is nothing to happen here. You have not specified something to happen, and that is where we have this document.getElement by ID. Now we need to target a certain place. So before we do that, let me add some CSS, some styling to it, and it's gonna be border style of solid, and we're going to have padding of 12 pixels, adding 12 pixels. Okay, and this is gonna be text align right. Okay, so that it will be at the right. So this is what we have, and let us also have on the button, have some style on the button. So style and background color, just to make everything look neat. We can have it as aqua, and border style of none, border style none. Okay, and padding of 8 pixels. Okay, and let's also add some margin maybe margin 8 pixels as well. Okay, so this is what we have now, and if I click on this button, you see it doesn't work. So we need it to make it to work, and to make it to work, we need to go to our JavaScript, and then we are going to do some certain things. So we're going to be making use of functions here, and we can say function And then the name of the function, I can say, I can just call it anything I like, but let's call it display just to make it conventional. And within the curly bracket, this is where we are going to have our code, that when you click on that code, something should happen. So let us have document dot get element by ID, and the ID that we want to get here is the ID that has this particular word here, so that anytime we come here, we click on this button, it is going to get this ID that has this paragraph, and change the content of this word or this text that is here. So to do that, we go to our HTML to make sure that we have a class, an ID there, because we are working with the ID. And this is where we have the ID. And this is not supposed to be the place to have it. We are supposed to have the ID on the paragraph. So the ID is now on the paragraph. So this ID is what we are working with. So we can say, and the name of the ID is screen. So I am going to copy this ID now and go to my JavaScript. So under this place, I am going to make it a string and paste the ID there. So document.getElement by ID has gotten the ID, which is this particular paragraph. Now, what do you want it to do to this ID? So we want it to change the inner text of this ID. So we can say dot inner text equal to, so we can now tell it what it will do. So let's tell it to say this is the magic. So when this button is clicked, it should say this is the magic. But if you notice, if we click on this button, it doesn't do anything. So that is because we don't have the event on our button. So we need to control this function with what we call event listener. So we will go to the button, and after this place where we have the styling, we will now call on event listener, which is on click, because we want when the button is clicked to do this. And on click, what we want to do is this function, which is display. So let's copy this function, which is display. I'm going to copy it and take it to that button. On click, do this function. So that is what we just instructed it to do. If we refresh this page and click on this button, you can see it wrote, this is the magic. So this is what DOM is all about. This is what interactivity is all about. This is what document.get, document.query selector, and so on we do. Okay, so it is not just document.getElement by ID. We have so much or so many of them. We have document.getElement by class name, document.getElement by tag name. But whichever one that you are working with, you should maintain it. So you know that if we are working with class, then whenever the event is called, all the classes that have the similar class to that one that you are calling on is going to have that interaction on it. If you are calling it on tag, then all the tag that has the same similar this thing, we work like that. So that is how it does. So, but the essence of using ID is that IDs are basically used by a single element. So because IDs are used by a single element, you can target it by elements, by single elements. So that is why I prefer making use of the document.getElement by ID. There are document.getElement by query selector, which is also one of the major. In fact, nowadays most people make use of document.querySelector because it is one of the recent introductions to JavaScript ecosystem. Okay, so let's this is what um, these things can do. You know, the particular topic we are looking at are the JavaScript output syntax. So we are done with that. Let us look into other things. For now, I would advise you, if you don't understand this document.getElement by ID that I just did, please don't bother yourself because we will still touch it later on. We are still in the introductory part of JavaScript. So most of you might have not seen these things for the first time, but if you follow up on this particular training, on this course, you will notice that at the end of the whole thing, you are going to start understanding all these things. So we are going to be going into the JavaScript variables. So I'm going to do a comment. I'm going to comment this one out. And then I am going to remove all these HTML because we don't actually need them for now at this point, so that I don't confuse you guys. All right. Coming to the JavaScript, let me also remove this. Coming to the JavaScript variables. Now, first of all, a variable is any JavaScript. Okay, try. A variable is just like a container that can hold some set of values. Any container that can hold some set of values and store it so that you can use it anytime you like. But one thing I will also want to say is that a variable changes. It changes with time. It changes with what you add, depending on what you add into it. Just like a box. So when you put something inside the box, that thing is the box is going to contain that particular thing that you insert in the container. So that is what a variable is. No matter what programming language that you are studying, that concept remains the same. Okay. All right. So now to write a JavaScript variable, what you do is you use these conventions. Babe, kitchen na nwere ife na dị ebe a. Kitchen, n'ime kitchen na okay, so to write a variable on JavaScript, what you do is there are so many ways that we can do it. So, but each of them has their limitations. So we have the var, we have the let, and we have, oh God, we have the let and we have the const. Now, the var is the oldest way to call on a variable. The let is the most recent way to call on a variable, and this const is any type of variable that its value cannot change. Okay, so you can still call it a constant. So that is what const is. So we are going to be looking at var for the first time. Now to call on a variable, you call var and then the name of the variable. So let me call this number. And then this is what we call variable declaration. So the first thing we do in JavaScript is to declare the variable, and then here you now say num is equal to anything. We can just say 23. And at this point, what we did here is variable assignment. So why do we call it variable assignment? We call it variable assignment because we are assigning a value to this number at this point. We are assigning a value to this number. This equality sign you see here is called an assignment operator. It is called an assignment operator. So the reason why we call it assignment operator is because at this place we are assigning 23 to be the value of num. I don't know if this is clear. I don't know if this is clear, but this is just what we are actually doing. So we declared the variable here and we assigned it to have this value. So that is what we are doing. Let me see if I have any question from this place. So please, if you have any question, you can leave the question on the comment section. But for now, I think we have to continue because I didn't find any question here. So I wanted to take in some questions, but it seems that we don't have any question at the moment. Seems like we don't have any question at this moment. Let me just open this up, see if there are any questions. I think there are no questions here. Okay, let's get back to our JavaScript since there are no questions. Okay, so now notice that if I remove this one and, or rather, first of all, let us leave it and say document dot write. I'm going to be making use of document dot write at this point now. Now we say document dot write and we say num, which is the number. So at this place, we want to print the value of this number. But if I remove this var, notice that it still gives me this thing, 23. Now, this is because of the recent update on ECMA. But before now, you must have this thing specified, whether this is var or it is let. Okay? Messenger. I need to stop my. Okay, so I hope you now understand that the first thing that we did there was to assign a value. Now, there is a better way to do this, and the better way to do this is to declare the variable as well as assign it at the same time, and that is where you will have something like this, var, and then you now say num and equal to anything. So if you look here, you are going to see this value. Excuse me. All right. Mm. Uh, all right. Let's continue. So we can, this value here that we see here, if we add plus 45 to it, you will see that it's going to give another value, which means that this value we see here is the type of data that we call numbers. So in JavaScript, we have so many data types. We have the data type string, the data type number. We use number for, normal numbers. So data type string, data type number, data type boolean, data type so many other data types. So, but I am going to show you what each of them represents. So this is number because we are having these things like this. Now let's see whether this is actually a number or not. So we can just use, there is this JavaScript function that we call I think type of. So it's a function. So what we will do is we are going to take this type of and put it inside here, and then take this number and put it inside the type of. Now what is actually happening here? How do you know how many brackets that you are going to have in this place? So you know how many brackets that you are going to have by, document.write is a method. So we have its bracket, and you want to print out the type of value it is. So you are going to put type of inside of document.write, and then the value that we want to know the type will be inside of the type of. And that is why if you look here, you will see it says number. But if I intentionally wrap this thing in quotes, single quote or double quote, you will see that it will say string. Now, what are strings? Strings are alphanumerical data, alphanumerical values, values that contain A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, that can be used for words. They are ordinary words. So they cannot be used to perform mathematical logic. That is what a string is. So whenever you have a number and it is enclosed within quotes, then those numbers are not number, but they are what? they are string. Now, let us have another value here and say Obinna is a boy. You know, this is a statement, and this prints that this is a string because these are alphabets, they are words. So it will show you that this is a string. But what if we remove this and we type true? You will see it is going to give us a Boolean value. So let's have true. Now you will see it says Boolean. If we have false, it will also say Boolean. Now, Boolean values are used to perform logics. We use them for logics, and they only give us two values. And the two values they give to us are true and false. Now, for ordinarily, a Boolean value of 0 means false, while a Boolean value of 1 means true. Okay? So let us change this to 0 and see. It says number because this is actually a number, but we can convert this to become a Boolean. We can also convert it to be a number. So that is it. But if this thing is wrapped in quotes, it becomes a string. Okay? So this is some of the things that you actually need to know. Now, if a variable is not assigned to a value, it becomes undefined. So there is another data type in JavaScript that is called undefined. So undefined data type are variables that does not have values. So you have a variable that you declared, but you did not assign it to a value. At that point, that particular variable becomes undefined. So we also have the null values. The null values are values that have 0. So when it is 0, it is a null value. And we also have the bigint. Bigint have numbers with very large values. So you may not actually see or identify that this is a bigint, but this is actually a bigint because a bigint is specified that is a big integer value, and integers are numbers, so that's why you will be seeing some such thing. So we also have the float values, and they are also numbers. Float values are decimal numbers, so they or fractional numbers. They are floats, but in JavaScript, all of them are regarded as numbers. Okay, but when you are doing programming like Swift, Python, C, and all that, you are going to specify that this is a float or this is a number. You will see that they are different. Okay. Then there are variables that can take so many values. For instance, let's say we want to have cars, and we want to have cars, so we can have so many cars. Let us have Toyota and have another one, Jeep, have another one, Lexus, have another one, Volvo. Now these are models of cars, so I can call it cars or car models. Now watch the convention in naming my variable. So in naming my variable, what I have here, you can see that instead of giving a space car models, it will not work. It doesn't work in JavaScript. You don't give a space within the name of a variable. Take note of that. And secondly, you don't use hyphen for the name of a variable. But you can actually make the different words to start with capital letter, which we call Pascal case or camel case. So this car may start with capital letter, models will start with capital letter. So that is a very good one at that. So, but this one, I love the Pascal case, which is the other words starting with capital letter. Now, this is what we call arrays. Of course, this JavaScript is identifying it as an undefined value because actually at this point, it doesn't have a particular value. But if I want to do a magic, I can just use this and say, get me the index of 1 and okay, so let's not jump too far. Let us remove the type of and print the values. So this is what we can call an array. An array. I think there is a problem. Let us see the console for our debug. So this is why we make use of the console. You can see where the error is coming from. Num is not defined. So our numbers are not defined. So that is where our error is coming from. And what we have here is not actually num, but car models. So I think at this point we will get Toyota. So if we actually use type of here, we are going to have our values. Okay. So type of, it will say it is a string because actually we are getting the first value, but let's remove this. And it says this is an object, which is in this case what I actually wanted to say. Now, we have data type object, and it is the most important aspect of every programming nowadays because most programming languages are looking for what we call object-oriented programming, the OOP model. Many people are moving into object-oriented programming because everything we see in the universe today are objects. The air you breathe, you yourself, the car you drive, the house you live in, everything is an object. Once it is tangible, once it can be measured, it is an object. And in programming, we call them objects and we use them to work and do a lot of things. Okay, so but at this point, I don't want it to be an object. I only want you to know that this is what we call an array. An array. Okay. We can also define an array like this. We can define an array like this. Let us define it this way. We can use this type of bracket, and we come up here and say that this is going to be an array. So once you do something like this, you can see it detects that it is still an object. So let us remove the type of because that is not actually the objective of this class. Now, you can see that it gives us all the values. It says Toyota, Jeep, Lexus, and Volvo. And this is the value of this. But we can still get to find whichever particular object that we want. Let's say we don't want to return all these values, that we want to return only the value here, which is Jeep. Or maybe we want to return Toyota only without returning these other ones. Or maybe we want to return Volvo without returning these other ones. How do we get that? So we do what we call indexing. So the first value of every array is the index of 0. The second one is the index of 1. Third one is the index of 2. And the last fourth one is the index of 3, and so on. If you have 5 values, then the fifth one is going to be index of 4. Okay, so but just note that this is going to be index of 0, the first value of every array. So to get it, we use this block bracket, and we can use 0, and it will give us Toyota. You can see it only returned Toyota. If we want to see Jeep, we use index of 1, and it's going to return Jeep. If we want to return Lexus, we use the index of 2, and it's going to return Lexus. And if we want to return the last value of, which is the index of 3, and we say 3, and it's going to return Volvo. Now, we can also do this in a reverse way. We can say return index of -1, and it's going to say undefined, because actually there is no value at the -1. But if we say 3, it is still undefined because we don't have that particular value. So let us return Toyota, which is index of 0, and we will have Toyota. So I hope this is clear. This is clear. The first value of every array should be index of 1. 0. The second one will be 1, and so on, depending on the number of informations that you have there. Okay. The last thing that I'll be talking about this night is going to be the JavaScript operators, and yeah, after that, I am going to have a rest. Maybe tomorrow evening we are going to be looking at other things that are involved in JavaScript. I am going to make sure that within this week we will cover a lot of things on JavaScript, so that we can actually do a project on this JavaScript. But if you still want to follow me up on Thursdays, we do a live coding on Python and Django framework. So you can still join me on Python and Django framework on Thursday. But for this JavaScript, you can join me tomorrow and Wednesday. I will be every Mondays, Tuesday, and Wednesdays for JavaScript, while Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays are for Python and Django framework. And of course, you know that we are going to be building a blog website using our Python and Django framework to do that. So if you want to learn how to build a blog website or any kind of website, like an investment website or whichever website that you want to build, you can join me on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays and Sundays on my Python programming. On this JavaScript, our JavaScript for now are basically for the front end and for the beginner. This is not a course for the advanced learners, but you can still join us. I hope and I believe that in every class that you must learn 1 or 2 things before new in that class. So it is very important that you join us, even if you are an advanced programmer. Okay, so let's look at the JavaScript operators. So operators help us to perform some tasks. So we have so many operators. We have the arithmetic operators, arithmetic operators. We also have the logical operators, and these are the ones that I will be talking about. Um, we also have bitwise operators. Bitwise operators. So these are the operators that I will be talking about. But I may skip the bitwise operators for now and speak more on the arithmetic operators, because actually I don't have enough time to do that. So let us start with the arithmetic operator. So for the arithmetic operator, we use it to perform mathematical tasks like plus, minus, times, multiply, division, and so on. Those things that you do in your normal mathematics class, these are the arithmetic operators. While the logical operators help us to do some conditioning, or what we can say, make decision whether this or that is true or false, and so on. So that is what the logical operators can be used for. Okay, so we have seen some of the operators already, like the assignment operator, which is a single equality sign. So, but let's see the arithmetic operators in action. Okay, so let's have a number. Let's have num1. Yes, let's use let, because it's very important. Let num1 be assigned to 12, num2 be assigned to 34, and we can now say that uh, document dot write, and we can say num1 plus num2. So at this point, I am trying to do a mathematical calculation to add the first number and the last number. So this plus is going to be a form of arithmetic operator, and whenever JavaScript sees it, it is going to do a calculation of these values. I can still not use these variables. I can just mention 45 plus maybe 90, and it will give me the value immediately. And this is because JavaScript sees this thing as a mathematical operation because of the introduction of this plus icon, which means arithmetic. We can still use minus. So we use the hyphen for minus, and you can see 45 minus 90 is going to be minus 45. So you can see it here, minus 45. We can also use the this forward slash for division, and it's going to give us 0.5. We can use asterisk for multiplication, and it will give us 4050. We can use double multiplication, that's double asterisk, for raised to power. So it is going to give us a raised to power. So this is going to be 45 raised to power 90. We can also have modulus, something like this. So modulus is, we use percentage for modulus. So 45, and it gives us 0. If we say modulus 7, it will give us 3. And that is just it. Okay, and I think we actually need to end this class here, uh, because we have done. I will be there to answer you. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel and uh, follow my Facebook page, like, comment, and share my page and my channel so that other people will get to see these things that I do. And that is very important for the growth of this page and this channel. So I will hope to see you on our next class. And for this time, we will call it a day. Thank you for attending. Take care. Have a nice day. Good night.